Hello everybody. It's Friday Arvo, so you're probably just bludging at work on Facebook anyway, so may as well watch this. Now, this is a 1988 Mesa Boogie caliber thing combo. It's in horrible condition. It's got all sorts of burn components, attempted repairs, damage from repairs, all sorts of shit going on. It's covered in crud. There's hack job added shit. I've got no idea what they were thinking. They've epoxied resistors to the fucking board. You got burnt traces, burnt components, probably wrong values, snapped grid wire, which means that tube would have run away because it had no bias. Fuck, where to start, you know? There's no markings on any of this side of the board. It's all marked on the underside, so reconnecting all this shit's going to be fun. So I'm just trying to take some photos, do the idiot method, where I lose track of where I'm at. See, there's components everywhere just snapped off. I don't know. I don't even know if they might even be stock. Mesa's got this habit of designing shit really badly and then having to bodge in components later. It's fucking dog shit. That they're really not engineers. They make so many errors. Their boards still appear to be like hand drawn, like not even computer designed. They don't offer schematics. Their board layouts are shit. They've got components at one end of the board that go to a valve on the other end of the board. Yeah, everything about them shit, and they're super expensive. They're like the Apple of guitar amps. They're fucking pus, but because of the marketing wank, people think they're great, so they keep buying them regardless of how shit they are. Some of them last. Well, you know, people say they last, but who knows how many times it's been repaired in its life. They don't admit that stuff. It's like asking a pokey player, "Are you up, mate?" Of course they're fucking up. Now, I've checked all the caps, they're all discharged. This thing hasn't been powered on for ages. That there is a J-Car capacitor. I know because it's Jamicon, one of the shittest brands going around. It's radial, so someone's glued it to the board, but they've used some kind of celastic that's still gummy, so still like wet. I don't think it ever cured properly. It was probably out of date or something. Who knows? It could be like a butyl, like window sealing shit that never really truly sets. It just sort of stays gummy. So the cap's let go and has been rocking around in the amp. There's another one in there the same. So this apparently was a recap, the customer tells me. I don't know if this was done by someone for him or if he did it himself, but a supposed recap. They changed 2 filter caps in the whole circuit. There's heaps more than that. There's the low voltage supply cap over here, which looks fucked. Looks like it's starting to leak. You got 3 47, what are they? 30 mic 500 volt axials, which are Mesa. They're actually Sprague and relabeled with the Mesa thing, just like their tubes. Mesa don't make tubes, they just relabel them and whatnot, just like Apple doesn't make phones, Foxconn does. They're just marketing wanketeers. So anyway, it's got this internal reverb. Hey Kev, how you doing, mate? It's got this internal reverb here which mounts on the back of the chassis. It appears fine. Tested okay. Its driving circuit is completely fucked though, but that's on the primary side of the transformer, so the transformer might be fucked. There, a dime a dozen anyway. But yeah, it looks like someone has tried to, I'll just grab the schematic. There it is. So, let me just have a look at what's actually happening on the screen. There we go. So you got your reverb drive circuit over. Fuck, I can't do stuff upside down. Alright, so they're drawing it arse about. It's backwards. This isn't a Mesa drawing, I don't think. I've got it off some dark corner of the web. So it takes your signal in here. That goes to the grid. Here's your B plus going through a load resistor and the driving tranny, the primary. Someone has added a resistor between the plate and that end of the tranny, probably to try and bring. Oh, it's probably in runaway for some reason. Maybe the tranny's shorted or something. So they've tried to mitigate that. Well, not really understanding what's going on. They put these two resistors here. I'll just zoom in. It's pretty funny, actually. They have a go at them. Too far. Alright. So these are the resistors they put in. They're just spinning around in the fucking hole. Burnt to oh, there we go. They fell out. Now they're in the bottom of the chassis. They weren't even soldered. Like, although having said that, they probably were soldered, and they got so hot. I mean, look at them. They fucking would have been glowing. They probably got so hot that they burnt the solder off. You know. It's probably a blob sitting in the bottom of the chassis somewhere, which happens. So fuck knows what they're on there. Probably magic mushrooms, I hope. There's no excuse for that shit. Find the fucking real problem, you dickheads. And they've tried to stick it to the board with what looks like epoxy. That's burnt to fuck. It's probably conductive now too. Oh, that just went flying. It's probably conductive as well. Let's have a look. I'm noticing that a lot these days. Not in repairs, but in manufacture, particularly in solid state stuff. They're starting to use glue on the boards to secure the heavier components when you've got something like a, you know, like a subwoofer or just a, you know, a combo amp or a monitor speaker or something. The components can rock around a fair bit. Yeah, that's fucking conductive as. Yeah, it's pulling about one. Oh, it's funny in space as it is. Yeah, it's about 1 meg between about 3 mil of the stuff. So it's carbonized now. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So the heavier components in a powerful amplifier, they're gonna sort of vibrate around with the fundamental of the note, you know. Shit bending back and forwards at 200 times a second will snap over time. So they mount all the heavier components like capacitors, coils, that kind of thing with different kinds of glue. They used to use like an RTV silicon, but they seem to have gone with some kind of, I don't know what it is. It's like halfway between silicon and hot glue, and it becomes conductive when it heats up. It causes all sorts of dramas. So I don't know if that's malice on their behalf, trying to get you to buy more shit, which everyone seems to be doing these days. I don't know why. You wouldn't go back and buy the same brand of amp that just fucked you over, but people do for some reason. Yeah, I don't know if it's just a fuck up or if it's done to make you buy more shit. Anyway, that's enough ranting. I'm surprised you use an Apple, Kev. I thought you were smarter than that. Sorry, mate. Just joking. So I'm waiting on a few parts for this one. I got everything I thought I needed. I forgot to order all these tantalum bypass caps. I don't like the look of them. They were manufactured bloody when I didn't know what my dick was for. So I still don't. So I'm just going to change them out with some electrodes. Nichicon. they're my bag if I can get them in the values I need anyway. Buy them from a legitimate source. DigiKey. I have heard about DigiKey selling some crap, but I think it was by accident. They've got given a shipment of fake stuff. I've never been bitten by it though. Better than fucking eBay anyway. Disconnect this annoying thing. Try and remember which way it goes. I've taken photos of that. I should be fine. Really, because the biggest problem with Mesas is they mount all the hardware, all the valve sockets, the pots, the whole lot in the board, in the unit, and they just fly their leads out, and then they just plop the board in and fucking manually solder everything to the bottom side of the board, which is a fucking nightmare if you need to get to the other side where all the components are, because you've got to cut shit left, right and centre just to get to it. You probably heard techs say they put the Mesa tax on repairs. That's why. Fender and Marshall are smart enough to have either quick connects or something like that. Fender usually have enough slack on the leads that you don't have to disconnect fuck all. Now that earth was snapped off. Tried to take some notes, but there's just so much shit wrong with this amp. I was just sitting here in paralysis, dreading it. So now I'm just diving in, and by doing a video of it, you're here to coach me along, pat me on the back and whatnot, because I'm gonna cry if you don't. Oh, that's looking a bit better. So let's have a look at these burnt traces, try and figure out what happened. Look at that. Too far again. That's a beautiful board, isn't it? Have a go at it. Fucking need a tetanus shot. So yeah, you can see this track across here just vaporized at some point, but what old mate, whoever did that 2 resistor thingy, I think they repaired that, so I don't know how long it worked afterwards. Could have worked. It could have blown up first go. It could have worked for a while and something else went wrong and triggered it. So anyway, I'm just basically gonna rebuild the whole fucking reverb circuit and just make sure it's all schmick. Got over here. Mesa are one of the few brands that insist, probably because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Not that I know much better, but I'm not an international amp manufacturer. They use carbon comps everywhere. There's no fucking need for it. It offers no advantage. They're just going to fail. They'll drift in value. Your amp will change. Your voltages will change. And then they'll just fucking blow up one day. And then you'll be in for a lot of money. Because, sure, these 3, whatever, they're for the heater balance. Don't know what that is. I think it's a dropper for the power supply. There's like fucking 100 of them on the other side, and they all need replacing because they're shit and they drift. Some people say that that is the secret to mojo. Fucked resistors. I say they don't know what they're talking about. But what do I know? So anyway, people keep using these carbon comp resistors. I don't even have any in my drawers. I just don't use them. If someone wants them, that's a red flag that they're a mojo tone hound dickhead. So I send them on their way. I want to make shit reliable, not fucking pretty. Well, I want to make it pretty, but I don't want to make it forum pretty where you can go and brag about your Sozos and your Spragues and your shit. I just put good shit in there that's got a data sheet that I can back up, and that's it. Stuff for the last 10 years, easy. So let's keep removing the detritus, shall we? I think I've taken enough photos. I might take a few more. I'm going to trace the circuits. I'll put it back together, but it just gives me a quick reference to what was connected to what. Sometimes you're putting stuff together and shit does not make sense. Pull out the photos and save your ass. You never seem to take enough. There always seems to be that one angle you forgot to photograph. It's not bad for this because I've got a rough schematic, but it's not that complicated an amp. If you're working on something with computer chips in it, you really got to be careful. Mesa's stuff is overly complex for what it is. This is one of the more simple ones. Ah, it helps if you turn the fucker on, eh? So yeah, Mesa overcomplicate things like fuck. They try to make Swiss Army amps, and in the process, they really make amps that are good at fuck all. I've sort of come to the conclusion that there's no such thing as a do-all amp. Not one that's economical to repair anyway. Heat up, you bastard. Fuck. Keep disconnecting things. So all this wire's just snapped. It could be. I've noticed a lot of burn marks on the insulation. You don't generally get that from factory, or having said that, all bets are kind of off with Mesa in the 80s. But usually that's someone's come in later. Usually an old bloke, an old DIY kind of guy with a big fuck off soldering iron he's bought from what was the hardware back then? Might have 10? Hardware house? Wasn't Bunnings. One of those hardware or, you know, J-Car soldering irons anyway. J-Car's got some alright stuff, but a lot of shit too. Hi Mattress, how are you, mate? I'm giving back the love. After all your live streams, I felt guilted into doing one. Welcome. Ugh, even the solder on this board stinks. It's probably the schmoo that stuck to the board. I don't know. Oh, we can lift the board now. It's fascinating. Still hanging on. I think I'm going to go the whole hog on this one. Take the front panel off, take all the controls out, because everything's just got this grime on it. I think someone's used WD-40, haven't they? Naughty. That shit's good for nothing. So I'll spin it around. That's a great amp, look. Mesa Boogie, the spirit of art in technology. This makes you fucking puke in your mouth a bit, doesn't it? And this fuckwit, Randall Smith, or whatever the fuck his name is, he's got this habit of just putting patents on the most banal of shit, like of fucking volume control. He's just noticed that no one's patented it before, so instead of offering to the art in technology, he tries to make it all himself. Oh, you know, his own. Tries to make it his intellectual property to have a fucking volume control on an amp. But anyway, like I said, enough ranting. Now, all the knobs are missing. Oh, I think there was like two. One of them crumbled in my hands when I took it off. So I had a look on the usual suspects. Couldn't find anything on eBay. There's millions of Fender type ones, no Mesas. Well, there's some Mesas, but they're not this type. They're a skirted knob. You're a skirted knob. Where is they? That's the ones. Look pretty whatever. That one's been glued together. So I found them in Germany for sale. 18 euros a fucking knob. You buy a new amp for that. 18 euros, what's that? That's like double, that's like 40 bucks plus postage for a fucking single knob. So yeah, no go there. I found these ones, which look good in the catalogue. I love talking about knobs on a Friday, are we? They look okay, but they're a bit, they don't take the shaft so deep. Yeah, they're a bit shorter, so they sort of stick out from the chassis a bit. I might put them on anyway. Might look alright when it's in the cab. You can see they sit a bit, oh fuck, almost about 10 mil proud, 8 mil proud, whereas those ones sit nice and flush, about 2 or 3 mil from the chassis. Yeah, I might put them on anyway. For now, it's better than nothing. But yeah, 18 euros a knob. All right, sockets. Ah, fuck. Every time. Looks like the internet's doing alright today. For once. We had the NBN guys digging up the road out the front, so I asked the TPG, who is my service provider. She's all like, "Oh, you're gonna get 12 megabits download." I'm like, "Great, how much upload?" It's actually gonna be exactly the fucking same. So they're pandering to people that pirate movies, but not content creators that actually form an industry. Australia. We're becoming like America. So anyway, enough about me. Who's watching? You still there, Kev? Alright. Have to remove the switch. This is a bit annoying. Ah, fuck, I'll just snip it. I kind of want to check the integrity of the yeah, that's the other thing that struck me straight away. This wire, here has mains on it, and it had no insulation. It was just sitting in there, and look, this was the extent of the soldering attempt. He's got a few strands to stick, but that's the active, so that was 240 volts just floating around in the chassis, not secured and not insulated. So I'm pretty happy to just snip, because I kind of want to do the whole mains side of it from scratch because I don't trust a fucking thing in this thing. I don't think that was stock. Boom. Did you see the amp I covered the other day, Kev? Everyone's got a hard on for that blonde Tolex you sell at the moment, so I'm going through tons of it. I should just buy a roll off you. Not tons of it. What did I go through? 4 meters. Good stuff though. And your glue works like a hot damn. Oh, I gotcha. Alright, 3-way. Two-way. Nice big solder burn on. This is going to be a full day job. Hope I get the important parts done before beer o'clock. It's beer o'clock all the time in Queensland, isn't it, Kev? Fucking piss heads. So here we have the EQ. And instead of using screws, whoever made the faders, or whatever you call them, slider pots, just had a tab that gets folded over. Now, because they're soldered to the board, they've clearly put the board in one piece and then just bent them over as a means of securing them to the chassis. So hopefully I can bend them back without them snapping off. Look at all the dust. That's 30 years of dust. They had better dust back then. Not like the crappy Chinese dust they have these days. When you're sitting alone in your garage working on amps, you gotta laugh at your own jokes. No one else around to do it. Right. A little mini hammer would be good. Gonna stay there, yep. You drink Striggett bourbon, Kev? Never heard of Striggett bourbon. I used to do that at parties when I was a teenager because I thought it made me look tough. Till I was lying in the gutter all fucked up. I slowly learned how to handle my piss. Unless it's a bucks night, then all bets are off. Gently. Gotcha. Look at that. Old school EQ. These days they don't use inductors. Well, not smart people anyway. Mesa still do. They use op amps in what they call a gyrator circuit, which simulates an inductor but is tiny and cheap and easy to replace. Anyway, this does the job. Makes the Mesa sound slightly less horrible. I had a DC 10, the 2x12 thing anyway, with 100 watts of 100 watts of output power, and I had to have the Smiley EQ on because it had this horrible sound around 700 hertz, and it was just this massive peak. I don't think it was the speakers because I've used them on other amps before, the Black Shadow or Widow or whatever the hell they're called, and they seem to be alright. Oh my god, why did I say yes to this? This is cool. Oh, another lead snap. Cool. This side doesn't look too manky. All the resistors. Oh, yeah. Everywhere I look, there's something massively wrong. This is fun. I'm glad I saved this one for a Friday. There's some good viewing here. If you're thinking about buying a Mesa, please don't. Go buy something made by someone who gives a fuck. They are out there. So, nice big crack. I'll just go on the screen so I can see what I'm looking at. Nice big crack there. That's what happens to carbon comps. Oh yeah! Destructor. So yeah, that wouldn't have worked well. I don't even know what it is at this point. I think it's a three. What pin? It's got a pin 5, which is the. I should know this shit off by heart, but I don't. Pin 5. Pin 5? Really? No, pin 4. Screen grid. Screen grid resistor. Fucked. Screen grid resistor intact, but probably fucked. Something. Schematic of designators. Power amp section. It goes to orange. 470. That there is probably was 220. You can't really tell by the colours now because the red's turned to brown, yellow's turned to red. When it overheats, all the colours change. So once the resistor's overheated, you can't trust its bands. So what's that one? Can't even see the traces. The board's gone black. Hope the board's not conductive. That would be a showstopper. 8.2. So that goes to the screen grid. And that's the B plus. It must be the dropper. B plus B 1500. Really? Nah, 22k. Yeah, there it is. So that should be 22k. And it is. Can't get a good connection. Yeah, it's about 20k. Surprising. Anyway, let's keep going over this. They're a dime a dozen. I've got them in stock. Replace that cap. That one. That one. Got some nice F&Ts here. Did I buy the wrong caps? 220, 30. Got 47s. What was I thinking? Fuck. 30, 500 volt. I think I've ordered the wrong caps. Awesome. I got those two. This is nauseating. Alright, let's look at this. This is what I was talking about before. So he's someone. The wire, the wire goes all the way around those wires, and then it went back to there. Literally did a big loop. Yeah, cool. So did this one for some reason. Now that there is mains wiring, probably pulled from a extension cord or something, about to snap off, nearly shorting out to that. So let's get rid of that. Ain't no good. Get some fresh solder on there. That stuff looks pretty grey, cloudy. Throw them on the wall of shame. I think I'm gonna remove all the completely fucked things, and then try and replace the components one by one, so I don't have to write down where they are, because there's no designators on here to know where anything goes. It's just a mess of hack jobs by the looks of it. So yeah, I'll change one component at a time, and then give the board a good wash, I think, so I can assess how much damage there actually is to the traces, and then probably put some link wires back on there to bypass those fucked traces, I think. Alright, let's clean up some of these solder eyelets. I want to put the big tip on it. This one's for ICs, that kind of thing. This one I'm putting on is for brutal retarded amps like this one. Try and burn myself. Oh yeah, sounds like bacon cooking. My old man was in here working on some stuff the other day, and he can't pull the trigger on this thing without mimicking its sound. Every time he pulls it, he thinks it's funny. I do too. Tweezers. Doesn't look like anyone's been at this side of the board. I think whoever replaced those J-car, or put those J-car caps on, might have done it without removing the board. Maybe that's why the leads are so long. In which case, good on them for laziness. Bad on them for making an amp work. I do admire true laziness, but only when it takes ingenuity to be that lazy. Like, alright, let's get some actual decent resistors out. So what do we need? Oops, sorry, playing with my computer. Alright, so we need some 470s, 470 ohm. Probably could go 1K, 470, they put 1 watt in. Fuck that, I'm gonna put at least 3 watt in. Yeah, I'll fit a 3 watt there. I'll put it on standoff so it doesn't heat the board. Need that 22K, the power supply there. Again, they chose 1 watt. Fuck that. What have I got? They're all metal film, the ones I got. 22K. I only need one. 470 ohm. Got a few wattages to choose from here. They're too long. Got some real nice ones down here. Massive overkill though, they're 7 watt. What? What? Oop, use that in something. 470 ohm. I think they were 5 or 7 watts. They'll work. I'll put some slightly nicer than standard parts back into this thing because the primary objective is I don't want to see this thing ever again. I'll make it better than a Mesa because it's currently a mess. Huh? I think I can remove the big caps. I think I can remember where they go. I'll take a couple of photos of this side of the board too, which I haven't done yet. Double J is playing a 90s special. Love the 90s. Best decade ever in music, in my opinion. That's because I'm a Gen Y dickhead. Why? Alright, let's take these caps off. 470, 470, 220, 560. That is cracked. 560, 680. Ew. Sorry, I'm just thinking while I'm trying to make a video. You can't think while you're making videos. Just thinking's not interesting. Doing. 2.5. That's going up to the low voltage supply. Alright. So that cap is 220. Oh no, that's 220. I went through and highlighted the parts I want to replace. 680, there it is, 2 watt, 680 ohm. Alright. Super shitty way of regulating. Just chuck a big fucking resistor on it. That's lazy. That's not engineering. That's certainly not art and technology. Use a regulator, you fucking chud. Or at least a Zener. like Fender do. What's wrong with my resistor drawers, Kev? Fuck, if I had one for every power rating. Do you know how much those things are worth? Treston drawers? Like $100 a cabinet. You gotta drop your prices, Kevin. I can afford that kind of shit. What drawers have you got? I'm curious. I want to see your warehouse. Warehousing seems like a really hard job. Let's put it that way. I don't know how you'd keep track of all that inventory and then pack an order within a day. I couldn't do that shit. You want to give me a job? Teach me how to do it, Kev? I might snip those leads actually because it's siliconed. If I desolder it and then pull the thing out, it's going to rip off the silicon a bit violently and possibly break the trace on this side. If I try and take the silicon off first, you're definitely going to damage the PCB. So the best way to do it is get cutters. Now these, see how they're sort of, it's kind of hard to see there, but they're beveled, angled. So when you cut this way and the wire's going through like this, the piece of wire on this side tries to shoot out. So if you're chopping off the other side of the board, you've got to hold the off cutter. It goes flying across your room, and the first time you find about it is often when you power up your power supply or scope and it's got a wire shorting it out. The other thing is with sensitive components like transistors, FETs, that kind of thing, if you cut the leads, here we go, if you cut the leads and the side that's pushing is facing the component, so you're just trimming them off a bit, that wire sort of gets a shockwave sent up it, and that can damage the die. And it's pretty rare, but it can damage the component. So you flick them around the other way, so the flat side is facing the component, and there's less of a shock when you cut it. Mind you, that's coming from the old man. That's stuff they taught him. Whoa! Stuff that, how's that for a shockwave? The stuff they taught him at the RAF. They're pretty anal there, but when it's a difference between a jet falling out of the sky and not, you tend to be a bit anal. 511. Okay. So it was originally supposed to be mounted on this side of the board. I wonder why it's on the other side. It's like they forgot to put it in at the factory or something. I wouldn't put it past them. Either way, I can put it in this side. There's a big glob of solder there. I don't know if it's worth making these videos, but all I know is it's a bit of fun. And it's an excuse to talk to myself without people thinking I'm weird. Come on, you bastard. Oh, blocked it. So I might have a storm coming. Oh yeah. I've got a delivery. Goodies. I can't even remember what they are. That one feels like a bomb. Oh no, I know what that is. Yes. Look at that. You get a bonus unboxing, unbagging. It's all the rage on YouTube, isn't it? Fucking weirdos. Well, it's got the China smell. Smells like China. Ugh. Look at that. Copper foil. Tape. That's for shielding the back of pick guards, that kind of thing. Could do the inside of a amp cabinet with it too, if required. That should be wide enough to get it all in one roll, which is what I was after. Sweet. Yeah, what else did I get? Been ordering so much hardware and shit recently that I lose track of what's coming when. Come on. Ah, you're ready. Here we have another little project coming up. Some of you nerds might be interested in. Euro rack rails. Euro rack rails, that's hard to say. That goes in here. And they mount in a cabinet, apart like that, about that far. And you mount your Eurorack synthesizer modules on it. Shut up, you little dumbass. They're not cheap because they're a custom extrusion that I guess is single purpose. I tried to look for something that would work off the shelf from Alspec or something, but to no avail. So you mount your synthesizer modules in there, it's in a cabinet, it's got a power supply at the back, they all plug in, and you can fuck around making stupid computery music. Got two of them. I'm gonna make one for myself and put one up for sale, see if they sell. They're gonna look pretty cool, hipsters will love them. Covered in bright red Tolex or something. And see what you reckon. Buying synthesizer modules, I'm told, is a bit like buying crack. You buy one, you can't stop. Before you know it, your whole house is filled with them. Oh shit, there's a wire there. Anyway, back to work. No more fun. So he's all having a bludgy Friday, watching me instead of doing work. Oh, another wire broke off. I may as well desolder them then. Brown, green, blue. Take a quick snap. And like I always tell you, if you're doing this kind of work, for God's sakes, make sure you're poking your tongue out. There's the EQ board. I want to give that a wash too. I've had success with crappy old mixing consoles of just literally soaking the whole thing in isopropyl alcohol and then blasting it clean, doing that a few times, getting all the crap. You should see the shit that comes out of them. And then after that, giving him some Servisol lube, and Bob's your uncle. I had a great uncle called Bob, I think. Great, something like that. 680. Lead spacing's about right there. I'll pop that one back in before I forget. Do that one first. I don't see any reason to mount it on the opposite side of the board, so I'm just going to mount it on this side, which I think is what they were supposed to do in the first place. This camera angle's a bit crap. You can't really see much, can you? Alright, that's better. I just add a touch of new solder on there because the old solder's all oxidized. Doesn't like to flow when it's that bad, which makes it hard to work with. Shut up. Still holding on a bit. Soldering on this job in general is really shit. Luckily they got through plated holes, which means that on some old school bits of gear, because the circuit board's just a layer of here we go. The PCB is just a layer of fiberglass, and have two layers of copper, one on each side, and this particular one, and all the holes actually have metal going all the way through the hole, so the two sides of the board are connected on that particular trace. That's good because it forms a collar either side of the board, so you've got a ring that side, and they're mechanically connected by metal, so it offers some level of mechanical securing of the part. And if you overheat the pads, they're less likely to rip off. Old school stuff will be generally single layer, so there'll just be one layer of copper deposited on the bottom side of the board. All the components are on the top side, and all the components get soldered to the bottom side. But what happens then is if you push down on the component this way, it can pop the, because all it's really securing the copper on the bottom side is like it's glued to the board. So if you push the component down, especially if it's hot, it will just pop the trace off the bottom and damage it and usually break it in the process. Through plated's a bit more resistant to that. So yeah, that's one good thing. This would have been a pretty early example of through plating, I'd imagine. 88, I think mid 80s is about when it sort of came in. Alright, let's clean up that solder. Just make it so they're nice clean holes. You don't want a dirty hole. Dirty fluxy hole. Sweet. Alright, that was my 680. It's already starting to crack. Yep, look. That's carbon comp. That's why you don't fucking use them, guys. I just snapped that with my 2 fingers and it didn't even really show much of a crack. This here's wire wound on a ceramic core, 5 watt. They're about the same size. Actually, the carbon comp's a bit bigger. That's 1 watt. This is 5 watt. Huh? Why would you go with that? Cheap, I guess. So for my power resistors, I don't like them touching the board because I'm a bit funny like that. So what I do is I mount them on little ceramic standoffs, which I've got to find now because I've mentioned them. Now I've got to use them. Right, these things. I've had some of the other guys that do this kind of thing ask me. There's a part number from DigiKey. Go get them, mate. These are the 8mm long ones, which should be long enough. Yeah, that'll be right. Lift the board, lift it off the board by about 3mm. That's enough, as long as it's not touching it. Just gently bend them over. Generally like to make the value on top for the next guy because I'm so nice. See that? Beautiful. Beautiful, mate. Bang on the centers. Bend her over. Might bend them in. There we go. Solder them down here. While I'm here, I'll get rid of the excess solder on the other side of the heater balance resistors, which I'll also replace because they're carbon comp crap. Oh, that smells funky. Got some 80s substances up my nostrils. All these leads are probably going to snap off because I'm flipping the board back and forwards. She's getting the works burger, so what's that matter? $100 ohm. Oh fuck, that's hot. These carbon comps seem to really absorb the heat. It's probably why they crack. So that's them there. So they go from either side of the non-center tapped heater supply to ground. So it gives a ground reference. If you just run them straight to the heater's floating, and there's no way for, so your heaters could be unbalanced. Instead of going plus minus 3.15, they might be going plus minus 6.3 and 0, you know. There's no sort of reference to ground. This ground here serves the purpose of balancing the heaters, so they're going like this, perfectly balanced, which they sort of cancel each other out. They don't emit so much noise from the high current voltage floating around in the amp. So they do make a big difference to your low level hum noise level. I'll chuck some of them back in. 100R. They don't really dissipate much power at all. So you can put, I usually go with half watters in there, but you can put 1 watters in. I find the heavier duty resistors, they're mechanically sort of better. They're just heavier wires, and they're about the same size as the old ones, a little bit smaller, but they're good. We'll use them. Put them in the bag of shame. That's really weird. There's all other holes there that don't appear to be being used for anything. They weren't being used for anything. Ignore. It's a strange board, this one. It's like they had revisions, but then forgot to get rid of the old shit that they revised. So there's like holes there of stuff that's been taken out, but it's not on the schematic. Fuck yeah, magic dirt. I got my stereo in the background turned right down. I figured out just how loud it is before the microphone picks it up, because YouTube smashed me for a copyright infringement when I had the background radio too loud. I can't work in dead silence. I feel like a fucking alien when I do that. So I figured out just how quiet I can have it before I get a copyright strike and you have to listen to no audio on my video. YouTube was good before it got AI. Alright, let's do our grids. And that's a 680 as well. So I can place that one. Grab another 680. Just out of interest, we'll see what the old value is. 630. It's not far off. I'll replace it anyway because it looks discoloured. The board looks discoloured in this area too, like it's heated the whole board up. Let's see if this one snaps in half. It's like a Kit Kat. Nah, she's good. Clean up these while I'm here. That's the wires that disconnected earlier. I'm hoping after I've cleaned up all these connections, the board starts to look a bit better and I just feel better about the whole job. Because at the moment, wondering why I took it on. I love seeing shit like this come back to life though. It is pretty rewarding. Fixing horrible designs and abuse and neglect. Making her a fucking nice amp again. Come on. Ah, she's blocked. This is where I burn my fingers. Ow, 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 ow. It's a good soldering gun, but a desoldering gun. She gets blocked pretty easy. A bit painful. Ah, got a component lead stuck in it from earlier. Gotcha. That's a Hiko 474 station. The Hiko 815 lead-free desoldering gun. Kind of like the angle that it sits at. It's very comfortable to use. And it's still blocked. That's better. Shit falling down everywhere. That's what it should sound like. Where was I? Need some mechanical assistance on this one. I'm gonna let go. You gotta love messes. The solder connection's cracked and intermittent, but it's still a pain in the ass to get the part out. There we go. Alright, so that was my 2 screen grid resistors. Go that way. So R4 411 and 412, they were 470. I'll put 470 back in. Some more of my little ceramic dealies. Probably an overkill, but like I say, I want this thing to live a good life away from my factory, shop, workshop, whatever you call it. Gang. That one. Fuck. Nah. I mean, all sorts. Must need another cuppa. Sort of gently bend them. I don't want to have any real sharp corners. Just sort of like that. If you can see that. Just like a smooth round bend. Just check the spacing. Yeah, looks about right. Put some more of these ceramic buggers on it. So it's R512. There are not 512 resistors in this thing. I don't know where they get their numbers from. Sweet as. Better than Mesa. Of course, that's not hard. Kind of want to do a PCB amp just to do it better than this. Build one from scratch, I mean. Now, I'm soldering all this shit on before I clean the board because I want to clean off the flux I'm leaving behind in the process of cleaning the board. Save doing it twice, because this thing's already going to take enough time how it is. What do you reckon we put 50 or 47 white caps in there instead of 30? Fuck, the tolerance is like plus 80, minus 30%. Just worries me because you put two high capacitors in there and it puts a higher load on the tranny. And from memory, these messes get pretty hot. Here they are. Just under normal conditions. I really don't want to order anything else though. I might have to put a quick order through. Yeah, 220 actually. I'll change that before I forget. Someone's reinforced this trace for some reason. Might have showed evidence of overheating or something. They just thought they'd fucking load it up with solder instead of fixing the actual problem. Nothing new there. Another one bites the dust. Just remove the superfluous solder. And chuck the 220 back in. It's a 3 watt carbon film, I mean. Check the spacing before I fold the leads over. Did I say carbon film? I meant metal film. Not like anyone cares. Getting warm out here. It's like winter's finally fucking off. Slaving over a hot soldering iron. Alrighty, let's put the filter caps on. I'll clean off this crap first. And then we can start looking at the reverb circuit and figure out what the fuck went wrong there. Because something went wrong in a big way. Might change the smaller caps first. I've got them somewheres. Thought I had them somewheres. 220, 63 volt. Hope I got them somewhere, or I'm putting another friggin' order through. 220, 63 volt. Oh yeah. Come on, computer. Right. Why don't you run a razor between those caps because they've got silicon or some crap between them. That way I can sort of remove them one by one. Oh, Jesus, almost fell off my chair. Alright. Let's take them off. So that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, cool. They're even rusty. Looks like rust. How they made lead rust? Fucked if I know. That's not melting. Why is that not melting? What? What's going on? What the fuck? Solder's not melting. That one is. What the fuck's going on here? Oh, that was weird. It's like it got some epoxy on it from this sketchy ass repair right next to it. Yeah, that dropped out. I'll check polarity before I do that. Alright, it says it on the board, sweet. Gotcha! Oh, it's almost lunchtime. Getting hungry. Oh, shut up. Little dickheads. Can't complain, I make heaps more noise than them. Cool. Alright, I'll chuck some Nichicons back in. 3 old. Pretty. Yep, fit alright. Put the value facing up, so the next guy can order. If this thing lives that long. Fuck, kids whinge a lot, eh? That's pretty. Give him the old folderoo. Oh, Jesus. Peter. Alright, any other carbon comps I can destroy? Yep, up here. And a couple of 1500s. Alright, so they're the balancing caps, sorry, the balancing resistors for the 2 series power supply caps. And my camera's telling me it's going to go dead, so I'll go charge the battery. See you later.